Hello students, welcome to Byju's classes. In this session, we'll be discussing Civil Services Prelims 2015 GS Paper 1. I hope most of you are waiting for this video, and I know that there are a lot of answer keys available, but still there are a lot of issues regarding the answer keys. Many people are confused and they give one answer over the other. But it is important to know why one answer is correct and the other is not. So in this, we'll take each and every question and try to analyze what exactly is the correct answer. But always remember, there will be options which may be more than one. There may be more than one correct option, and usually it is very difficult to predict. So in those areas, we'll see which two are closely related, and we will leave it up to UPSC to decide which option they will choose as the correct one. But before we begin with that, I would like to see what is the difference between a 2014 paper and a 2015 paper. If you observe 2015 paper, you usually see that you have straightforward questions. Something like Jan Dhan Yojana. What is Jan Dhan Yojana? Niti Aayog replaces what? And you had some conceptual questions, understanding based questions in economy. In polity, again, there was straightforward question, factual questions were seen. And if you see, there were some geographical questions which were usually confusing. And at the same time, there were difficult questions which people have never heard of. This is a common pattern which you see in UPSC, but this time, the number of questions from current affairs, international relations, environment and ecology has actually increased. But if you see directly, people can't understand whether this is an environment and ecology question or current affairs question. So, as obvious, UPSC has focused on straightforward and factual questions, which actually forms 30 to 35 questions. And people, after writing these questions, you will hear to a lot of people saying the paper was easy on that particular day. But later, when they start comparing, due to the confusing questions which are usually there, a lot of people have done negatives. So don't get disheartened. First, try to have a clarity of which all questions you have understood, which all questions are accurately correct, and wherever there is confusion, leave it. There are hardly some 4 to 5 questions which are confusing, and you don't count anything on that. So without that, if you are crossing a particular number, please go ahead with the preparation. So first, let us see what is the weightage that is given in UPSC for different areas. So the first thing, if you see current affairs, you almost have 27 questions from current affairs alone. Here, when I say current affairs, it includes international relations also. It includes science and technology to some extent. It includes environment and ecology, some areas of social issues also. Because in mains, we can actually separate them. In prelims, we can actually put it under current affairs directly. So current affairs, which was in news specifically from the last 1 year, were asked, and it was almost around 27%. And if you take economy, you almost had 16%. Here you again had factual based questions and you had concept based questions. The number of confusing questions were very less. You hardly had 1 or 2 questions which were confusing. Then polity, direct, factual, only 1 question was confusing, which we'll be seeing. History was bit more in-depth analysis. There was in-depth analysis. History was more of understanding rather than factual. So basic books of Bipin Chandra was very much helpful. Then you take geography, NCRTs, traditionally, India yearbook, and Goching Liang played a very important role. Environment and ecology, majority are from current affairs, and you usually observe that even in this, whichever was there was actually from international relations also. That is, you usually get 4 to 5 questions from international related one, for example, IUCN and all. But if you see environment and ecology, again, the questions like dugong and all were actually asked from NCRTs. So the basic preparation, unlike last year where the environment and ecology questions were almost of 20 to 30 marks, and it was very difficult to predict those. For example, the questions on mountains, like, if you go to Himalayas, which kind of birds were seen and all, those were completely avoided. This time it was more of international relations and basics from NCRTs. And the biggest issue with UPSC this time was that if you see, most of the questions came from examples from different books. If you take NCRT, dugong is an example which was given. Gangetic dolphin was given from India yearbook directly. Economic survey, if you take 14th Finance Commission question, and if you see the video, we have accurately mentioned those stuff. That, 14th Finance Commission has not made any sector specific grants and all. So you have direct and factual questions coming, and also examples becoming the part. So whenever you're preparing, just ensure that your clarity is there on example, which we keep repeating in geography classes also, that examples will be the questions. Even for mains, when you see, they won't ask plate tectonics directly, but they are actually focusing on how did Philippines form, how did few Hawaiian islands form. So for those kind of questions, it is more of examples, and then you need to derive the answer theoretically. So please be prepared to face such questions. Science and tech was very interesting this time because majority were from current affairs. So if you see, we have separated current affairs separately, which was only in news. Again, science and tech, where it was not basic science and tech which was used. Again, it was current affairs. Environment and ecology, again current affairs. So if you see, almost you can mark 45 to 50% from current affairs. And if you see the videos, especially the Golan Heights, recently we had just released a video on current affairs where we were actually talking about revising the maps. So in that we actually discussed where exactly Golan Heights is, and we also saw which are the countries which open up to Mediterranean Sea, right? So these were direct questions. Economic survey, you got questions, and India yearbook was from the video lectures which we had actually provided. So if you see, majority, especially from the current affairs which we were focusing, were there, and people who would have followed would have felt comfortable with this right from the beginning. So now let us take the questions and let's go one after the other. So the first question is, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has been launched for. So this is a direct factual question, but still people have confused because they didn't understand the concept very well. The reason is you have promoting financial inclusion in the country and providing financial help to the marginalized communities. If people have not read these properly, and if they've just seen financial help, few people are telling that they were confused and they mark D as their option. But as you are aware, in the Jan Dhan Yojana class, we had mentioned that Jan Dhan Yojana is one which actually talks about financial inclusion properly. The term was very much important. It is not just for marginalized community, but it is for everyone. So the answer for the first one is C. The next thing is, with reference to the 14th Finance Commission, which one of the following statements are correct? So it has increased the share of states in the central divisible pool from 32% to 42%. We have seen in Economic Survey 3, lecture 3, that there is vertical division 32% to 42%. And so this one is correct. If you see the second point, it has made recommendations concerning sector-specific grants. In the Economic Survey lecture, we have clearly seen there is a chapter on 14th Finance Commission, and there we have actually seen that 13th Finance Commission had made sector-specific grants, and the 14th Finance Commission actually did not follow that. So the second one is wrong. So the answer is only 1. So Next question is all about Fortaleza declaration, and they're asking recently in news. So this was last year's news, and it was important because BRICS bank was actually set up. That is the New Development Bank, NDB, was actually set up in the Fortaleza declaration, and this was in news mainly because the bank is functioning now. So this was important. People may get confused, why should we read 1 year before news and all, but the point is much of it is related to the recent one that Indian is actually becoming the head of the New Development Bank. So this is important. A decrease in tax to GDP ratio of a country indicates which of the following. So what exactly are they talking? Tax to GDP. So here if you take tax to GDP, and if you see the first one, slowing economic growth. So if tax to GDP is decreasing, let me say that if there is slow economic growth, the GDP is decreasing, hence there is actually tax decrease also, which actually includes that a decrease in tax to GDP ratio of a country will indicate slowing economic growth rate. What about less equitable distribution of national income? This may or may not be a situation whenever there is tax to GDP ratio. So only one is correct and the second is maybe. So as per now, the answer may be one only, but we never know whether UPSC will consider the maybe portion or not. So this question can be either both 1 and 2 or 1 only. There will be confusion in few questions because you don't know what is UPSC actually expecting of it. If you go through regular books and all, then both are almost correct, but there is a confusion. So hold on this. People who have attended this, and if they have confusion between A and C, don't think it is either negative or positive. It goes in the UPSC way. So you can hold on such type of questions. In the South Atlantic and Southeastern Pacific regions in the tropical latitudes, cyclone does not originate. What is the reason? So again, in this, there are two things. One, you do not have intertropical convergence zone, which seldom occurs in the South Atlantic. In South Atlantic, one of the reasons why you don't have cyclones is because of reduction in the ITCZ. But if you see the Southeastern Pacific region, then you see that there is sea surface temperature which is usually low because of upwelling cold water. Both are correct. You usually see that there is ITCZ, but upwelling of cold water is usually seen in the Southeastern Pacific regions. But if you take South Atlantic, then it usually varies. So again, there is confusion in these two options. Every time there will be 10 to 20 questions, which there will be confusion. And that is the reason why we keep telling, see, institutes, even after going through, referring to material, we will not be clear. So there is a possibility that you people might have done mistakes. So just by seeing few negatives, don't get disheartened and don't stop your preparation. Which one of the following pairs of states of India indicates the easternmost and westernmost? So you know that it is Arunachal Pradesh and Gujarat. So this is map based and a direct one. Consider the following statements regarding the DPSP, right? The principles spell out the socio-economic democracy in the country, right? The provisions contained in these principles are not enforceable by any court. If you see, fundamental rights are enforceable and DPSP are not enforceable. That is one of the biggest loopholes of DPSP. Very basic question in polity. So both 1 and 2 are correct. In the index of 8 core industries, which one of the following is given the highest weight? IIP, you have 8. We have seen in India yearbook session, and we have also seen in the economic survey session. We know these are important, but people would have read only what are there, like what is the 8 core industries, but weightage is asked here, and the weightage is actually for the electricity generation. If you see, electricity generation actually has 10.32% and it is the highest. So this is the reason why you usually have this type of questions, because there will be confusion. People may get confused. Coal is important, oil is important, electricity is important, but these are technical, which is actually given by the index. So please be careful when you are going through these kind of answers. Until and unless you have clarity, until and unless you have seen the weightages, don't put assumptions here. It will be completely factual oriented. Next, you see, which of the following national parks is unique in being a swamp with floating vegetation? That is floating national park. Kaibulamjao is the most famous floating national park in India. People who are aware of basic geography and NCERTs, that's why we keep telling you people, NCERTs from 6th to 12th is important, and most of the questions you see are the examples of the explanations that are given in NCERTs. So geography, friends, don't forget to read NCERT. Even for your answers and explanations, 6th to 12th NCERTs are more than enough. People who are preparing for mains, ensure that this is done consistently. Which of the following statements is or are correct regarding National Innovation Foundation, India? Right? So NIF is an autonomous body of the Department of Science and Technology under the central government. This is correct. You see, the second one is an initiative to strengthen the highly advanced scientific research. This is actually, NIF is aimed at traditional knowledge. We need to improve the traditional knowledge which is present. So UPSC has desperately made this mistake, so that people will think National Innovation Foundation may be actually thinking about collaboration with the highly advanced foreign scientific institutions, and there is a high possibility you do mistake because the visits to foreign countries are more and there are so many agreements. So you might think even it is working in this field. So there is no wrong, but the option is only one. What can be the impact of excessive or inappropriate use of nitrogenous fertilizers in agriculture? So let us see what are the options. If you use more nitrogen or urea, what is the problem? Proliferation of nitrogen fixing microorganisms in the soil can occur. What is the meaning of proliferation? Increase, isn't it? See, why do you want nitrogen fixing microorganism? Because there is no nitrogen or enough nitrogen present in the soil. So usually you go for nitrogen fixing microorganisms. But when you have nitrogenous fertilizers, plants will take directly. So at that point, you will actually see that there is decrease in the nitrogen fixing microorganisms. So this is wrong. And if you see, increase in the acidity of soil can take place. Yes, nitrogen reacts with water, rainwater, and form acidity. Leaching of nitrate to the groundwater, any fertilizer you use, phosphate or anything, leaching is one of the major groundwater issue. This is also present in India yearbook. So these two and 3, so the option is only C. You see, with reference to the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Environment and Ecology, IUCN, and CITES, which of the following statement is correct? IUCN is an organ of the United Nations. Factual error. And CITES is an international agreement between governments. UPSC this time what it has done, it has made half statistical errors so that people get confused. IUCN runs thousands of field projects is correct. CITES is legally binding on the states that have joined it, but this convention does not take place. This is correct. Environment and Ecology, IUCN and CITES have been covered. So 2 and 3 are correct, but 1 is wrong because it is not the organ. The fair and remunerative price, FRP, of sugarcane is approved by, told by Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, approved by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So usually they recommendation is given by CACP, accepted by CCEA. What explains the eastward flow of the equatorial counter current? You have equator, you have trade winds actually blowing, isn't it? Trade winds. Let me take Brazil. When you have trade winds flowing, usually what happens? Trade winds carry water along with it. All these water get accumulated here. Usually, why is it happening? Convergence of two equatorial currents. Water is getting accumulated here. And once it gets accumulated, there will be decrease in the water level here. And when two forces are actually accumulating, you usually see that the water which is accumulated goes in this way. This is eastward flow of equatorial counter current. So here the eastward flow of this is actually happening because of convergence of two. Water is accumulated, but it is going back because of the Earth's rotation. This is one answer given in the NCERTs. So if you take what is the reason, it is convergence of the two equatorial currents, but the movement is actually happening because of the Earth's rotation. So both chances are there. You can go ahead with one or B. Fine, there is confusion again in this. I'm telling you again, accumulation is happening because of this. But eastward flow of the equatorial counter current is happening because you have wind blowing in this direction. Counter equatorial wind is blowing anti-trade wind direction. The reason for this is Coriolis force is limited in this near the equator and in this zone, doldrums, what you call. And in this zone, you usually see moving. And this one reason they have given us Earth's rotation on its axis. So anything can be the answer. 15. Consider the following: Sri Shailam, Nallamala Hills, and these two are wrong. Okay, Sri Shailam is reputed for shrine Lord Mallikarjuna on the flat top of Nallamala Hills. Omkareshwar is one of the Dwadasa Jyotirlingas situated in the Mandata Hills in Vindhya Mountains. You are given Satmala of Madhya Pradesh, the Pushkar Valley formed between Aravalli, but you have Mahadeo. So it is only A, right? With reference to Rowlatt Satyagraha, which of the following statements is or are correct? Yes, it is formed based on the recommendations of the Sedition Committee. In Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to utilize Home Rule League. Here few people are varying based on the confusion, but the books like Sumit Sarkar has actually argued that Gandhiji made 3 groups to fight for Rowlatt Satyagraha, and in that you had Home Rule League as well. So going with that, 1 and 2 only is correct. Among the following, which were frequently mentioned in the news for the outbreak of Ebola virus recently? From last 1 year, Ebola virus is in news, and it is mainly because what has happened in Africa. If people know Africa, Syria, Jordan, Middle East, Philippines, Pacific Asian, Jamaica, North America. So it is B. With reference to fly ash produced by the power plants using coal as the fuel, which one of the following statement is correct? You can see fly ash is used in the production of bricks for building construction. Fly ash can be used as a replacement for some Portland cement contents of concrete. If you see JSD cements and all, they use this. Fly ash is made up of silicon dioxide and calcium oxide only. Because of this, the statement is wrong. So, and does not contain any toxic elements. It does contain. Fine. So option is 1 and 2 only. Next, with reference to dugong, a mammal found in India, which of the following statements is correct? This is there in your NCERT geography textbook, where they actually talk about herbivorous marine animal and legal protection given under Wildlife Protection Act. It is an example. Fine. So it is found along the entire coast of India is wrong. If it was present in entire coast of India, you would have known this name, right? So the answer is 1 and 3 only. Who of the following was or were economic critic or critics of colonialism in India? Almost all the moderates were economic critics, but you know that you had Dadabhai Nauroji and R.C. Dutt for sure. People might not be aware of Subramania Iyer because vocal voice of his for economic criticism is not seen much, but as you don't have 1 and 3 only, you can safely go with 1, 2 and then which one of the following issues the Global Economic Prospects report periodically? It is World Bank. It's a factual question from India Yearbook. When the Reserve Bank of India reduces the statutory liquidity ratio by 50 basis points, which of the following is likely to happen? SLR is reduced. That means banks have more money or there is more liquidity in the system. So when you have this, India's GDP growth rate increases drastically. This is wrong because drastically nothing happens whenever you go for monetary policies. Then you would have gone for this immediately, right? If 50 basis point, if you're reducing and India's GDP growth rate increases drastically, the government would have done that immediately. Foreign institutional investors may bring more capital into our country. Why will they bring more capital? Because of SLR. Scheduled commercial banks may cut their lending rates. Banks have more money with them, so they may. It is may. If it is scheduled commercial banks will definitely cut, you might be in trouble. May is correct. Economy always may will be correct. It may drastically reduce the liquidity to the banking system. I told you, you have more liquidity. So actually the answer is C. With reference to the use of nanotechnology, science and technology, tablet also you would have seen these questions. So nanotechnology, both are correct. That is targeted drug delivery, one of the major benefit and its contribution to gene therapy. So both 1 and 2 are correct. Nanotechnology, almost all the science and tech were from what was taught in the class itself in dark, and also just ensure that you read and know what is there in the news. That should be more than enough. In India, markets in agricultural products are regulated under the, we have seen it is APMCs enacted by the states. This is also from economic survey, right? It's a direct question, so need not go in detail much about it, but people may get confused between Essential Commodities Act. Remember, that is not for markets in agricultural products. Here in common it is this essential commodities only for essential commodities which needs to be sent across states where there may be hoarded to increase the prices. So at that point of time, governments may take, central government may take measures through Essential Commodities Act. Which one of the following is a national aquatic animal of India? Gangetic dolphin. It is as per your India Yearbook class. So if you go through it again, you will analyze that it is Gangetic dolphin which has got the national aquatic animal of India. Yeah. So next history question, Congress Socialist Party. With reference to Congress Socialist Party, consider the following statements. It advocated the boycott of British goods and evasion of taxes. It was right, but this was not. You understand? I told you, UPSC, you have to be careful. One part is correct, second part is wrong. So people may get confused if they have not read accurately. It wanted to establish the dictatorship of proletariat is wrong because they were democratic in nature. It advocated separate electorate for minorities and oppressed classes because by that time everything was over and it did not favor that. So the answer is none of the above. Consider the following statements. This question is important because you had Rajya Sabha in news and you know that Rajya Sabha is blocking many things. So you had to read on Rajya Sabha, and they had specifically asked about the powers Rajya Sabha has. So Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or to amend a money bill. This is correct. Rajya Sabha cannot vote on the demands for grants is correct. The Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement is wrong. It can discuss, but it goes there, they discuss, but whether to accept or not, amend can be done, but they cannot reject completely. Amend, but accepting is in the hands of Lok Sabha. So it is only 1 and 2. The Government of India Act of 1919 clearly defined. It was about diarchy, the jurisdiction of the central and provincial governments. Straightforward question. Which of the following brings out consumer price index of for industrial workers? Labor Bureau. Direct question from India yearbook. Inflation chapter. In the context of modern scientific research, consider the following statements about ice cube. A particle detector located at South Pole, which was recently in the news. So the question is all about ice cube. It is world's largest neutrino detector encompassing a cubic kilometer of ice. It is a powerful telescope to search for dark matter. It is buried deep inside. All the three are correct. This was in news. So science and technology questions basically are from current affairs. So please be careful. The terms agreement on agriculture, agreement on application of sanitary and phytosanitary, peace clause, all these are related to WTO. As we were focusing again and again, and as I was telling you, mains question last time you get at least 5 to 6 questions, and this was mainly from that. And WTO is in news because of India's firm engagement with it on agreement on agriculture. That's the reason UPSC has given this. Agreement on agriculture and peace clause is one of the main demands which India is involved in. So WTO. Near field communication technology, again, it is contactless communication technology that uses electromagnetic radio fields. NFC is designed for use by devices which can be at a distance of even a meter, but it is actually 4 centimeters or 10 centimeters. People change about it. NFC can use encryption when sending sensitive information is correct. iPhone wants to actually use this technology. So this is actually in news, and the option is 1 and 3 only, as this is wrong. It's not meter. Golan Heights. If you see our video on revising world maps, we actually talked about Israel in specific, where we were talking about Israel and Palestine. This was raised, and I have told you it is Middle East. MENA, Middle East, North Africa. From India, West Asia, North Africa. So as it is Middle East, Golan Heights, direct map based question. Convertibility of rupee implies, economy, direct question, freely permitting the conversion of rupee to other currencies and vice versa. That is, you should make the rupee, convert it to other currencies, dollar and all, and you should be able to get it back. Consider the following pairs. You have medieval state, which is a medieval state, and what is the state present today? So it is Durgara, Jammu, which is correct, and rest all are wrong. Okay, so the option is 2 only. Consider the following rivers. You have Vamsadhara, Indravati, Pranahita, Pennar. Vamsadhara directly flows. This is dispute between Andhra and Odisha. Pennar, much south. Indravati and Pranahita. Again, directly a map based question. When a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament, it has to be passed by. The reason this question is asked is there are a lot of bills which is jam-packed in the parliament, mainly because of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha. So whenever it happens, joint sitting is called for, and it is expected that you may have joint sitting. So that is the reason UPSC has given this. So if at all there is a joint sitting, it will always benefit the party in power in Lok Sabha, because it just needs simple majority of members present and voting. Lakshmikant, direct question. Which one of the following regions of India has a combination of mangrove forest, evergreen forest and deciduous forest? In such type of questions, you should always use elimination methodology. Mangrove, you may see almost in every state. Evergreen forest, you see north coastal Andhra Pradesh. It is actually present in Tamil Nadu. If you see the Tamil Nadu region, it gets rainfall from southwest and also from northeast. So that is the reason only Tamil Nadu is the region, not north coastal Andhra Pradesh. Southwest Bengal again doesn't have evergreen. Southern Saurashtra, Gujarat, you don't see at all. So the only one where you see all the three is Andaman and Nicobar. Which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? People are confused whether it is Avanti, Kosala, Magadha. Like, even Avanti is associated, but this was a question repeated from last year. So last year, UPSC had given only 3 and 4. Why not this? No clarity. So UPSC, as per UPSC key, it is Kosala and Magadha, 3 and 4 only. Which of the following is associated with the issue of control and phasing out of the use of ozone depleting? Majority of the people will be knowing. Even if you don't know, we had seen this in India yearbook. So it is Montreal Protocol. Consider the following. The arrival of Babur in India led to introduction of gunpowder. It was introduced much before. Introduction of the Arkan Dome. This was actually by Delhi Sultanates. Establishment of Timurid dynasty is right. So only 3. Niti Aayog has replaced what? I hope this is one basic question. Planning Commission. What is Rio Plus 20 conference? It is actually about United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. Don't get confused with climate change or CBD. Fine? It is with sustainable development. The executive power of the Union of India is vested in the President. The Prime Minister is the ex officio chairman is wrong. It is Cabinet Secretary. The term Goldilocks zone is often seen in news, current affairs, and it is for search of Earth-like planets in the outer space. Direct factual. Then, who of the following organized a march on Tanjore coast to break the salt law? Again, direct question. C. Rajagopalachari. Who of the following founded a new city on the south bank of a tributary to river Krishna? It was Harihara, who actually founded the Vijayanagara dynasty. The first woman president of Indian National Congress was Sarojini Naidu. This is wrong because she was first Indian woman president. First Muslim president is correct, so it is 2 only. Which of the following statements regarding Green Climate Fund is correct? It is intended to assist the developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change is correct. It is founded under the aegis of UNEP, OECD, Asian Development Bank and World Bank. All these are not present, so only 1 is correct. Indira Gandhi Peace Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development for 2014 was given to ISRO. This was in news because of your Mars mission. Fine. So the next question, with reference to the cabinet mission, which of the following statements is correct? It recommended a federal government, the 3 structure which you actually had. It enlarged the powers of the Indian courts is wrong. It provided for more Indians in the ICS is wrong. So it is A only. Which one of the following national parks has a climate that varies from tropical to subtropical, temperate and arctic? Does Namdapha National Park, directly from Environment Chapter, India Yearbook. Right? Factual one. Amnesty International is a global human rights movement. Most famous one. With reference to art and archaeological history of India, which one among the following was made earliest? So if you see, it was rock cut elephant at Dhauli. The other were much later. So this was actually, people get confused between rock cut elephant at Dhauli and rock cut monuments at Mahabalipuram, but this was much earlier. With reference to Indian history, which of the following is or are essential elements of the feudal system, right? A very strong centralized, you have a strong centralized one, and a very weak provincial or political authority, weak. And below this you have people. And usually you observe that in feudal system, you usually have the local political authority, which is also stronger. So this is wrong. Feudal system will not develop if top is strong and bottom is weaker. It happens when bottom is also stronger. The emergence of administrative structure based on control and possession of land. People who had land with them, they were the feudal lords who actually treated the other people as slaves. They made them to work. So for that, it was mainly because of the administrative structure based on possession of land. Creation of lord vassal relationship between the feudal lord and his overlord. That is, you are actually creating the hierarchy between the feudal lord and his overlord. So both 2 and 3 are correct. Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscapes is managed by World Bank. This is a factual one. India is a member of which of the following? Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. India is not a member, and India want to make it Indo-Pacific. ASEAN, only 10 countries. India is not a member. East Asia Summit, Modi visited. So this is actually where India is a member. In India, the steel production industry requires the import of, usually saltpeter and rock phosphate are not used, it is coking coal. The provisions of the 5th and 6th schedule direct protect the interests of the scheduled tribes. With reference to the union government, consider the following statements. Department of Revenue is responsible for the preparation of union budget. It is Department of Economic Affairs. No amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without the authorization of the Parliament is correct. All the disbursement made from public account also need the authorization is actually wrong. So it is only C. Who or which of the following is the custodian of the Constitution of India? Supreme Court of India. Not President, not Prime Minister, not Secretariat. Consider the following statements. The Accelerated Irrigation Benefits Program was launched during 1996-1997 to provide loan assistance to farmers. What exactly it is? With a view to ensuring early completion of projects for providing irrigation benefits to the farmers, the Government of India launched Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program. So this is wrong. The Command Area Development Program was launched in 1974-75 for the development of water use efficiencies, right? So only 2 is correct. The Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is constituted under the Environment Protection Act. It is also from India Yearbook directly. In the Mekong Ganga Cooperation, an initiative of 6 countries, which of the following is or not a member? It is between India and ASEAN countries. So you didn't have Bangladesh and you don't have China. So it is only 1 and 3. The question is not a participant. Basel III Accord is in news. Seeks to. Basel III is for banks. So it does improve banking sector's ability. Direct question. Consider the following statements. The winds which blow between 30° north and 60° south latitudes throughout the year is known as westerlies. The statement is correct if it was 60° north. There is error. So this is wrong. The moist air masses that cause winter rams in northwestern region of India are part of westerlies. You get rainfall during winter in Rajasthan areas. due to westerlies. So this is actually correct. With reference to Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, it was established very recently, is wrong. In response to this, actually it was mainly to formulate and implement projects for economic cooperation relating to trade facilitation, promotion and liberalization. They have given incidents of piracy in this. It is an alliance meant for maritime security only. As I told you, trade facilitation and all is there. So the option is neither 1 nor 2. Which one of the following movements has contributed to a split in the Indian National Congress resulting in emergence of moderates and extremists? It is Swadeshi movement. None of the other options is close by as well. In which particular region the local people train the roots of the living tree into robust bridges across the streams? As the time passes, these bridges become stronger. These unique living root bridges are found in Meghalaya. It's actually geography based question and they have asked from tribes in detail. Next, let's take the 70th question. Tides occur in oceans and seas due to which of the following? So you're all aware that tides are usually because gravitational force of the sun, gravitational force of the moon. But people were confused regarding this particular thing. If someone know these two properly, you don't have 1 and 2 only as the option. So obviously it should be 1, 2 and 3. But what is centrifugal force? It is the force acting away from the earth. So that means it is also responsible for tides. It is 1, 2 and 3. In which of the following activities are Indian remote sensing satellites used? So you use in crop productivity, you use in water resources, you use in mineral exploration. People may be confused whether if it is used in traffic studies or not. But telecommunication, 100% it is not used. So 1, 2 and 3, if you consider or if you have doubt 5, but 1, 2, 3 and 5 is not there. So it is only 1, 2 and 3. Which of the following states, or consider the following states in which tropical wet evergreen forest is there? Himachal Pradesh does not have this. It's only in the northeast, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram. The term in dark, sometimes seen in the news in the name of. Direct question. India's underwater observatory to scientifically study the Arctic region. Once India became member of this, it wanted to increase its presence there, so it is scientifically involved in it. With reference to Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, which of the following statements is correct? It is a global partnership of governments, businesses, civil society and indigenous people is correct. It provides financial aid to universities, individual scientists and institutions involved in scientific forestry research to develop eco-friendly and climate adaptation technologies for sustainable forest management is correct. It assists the countries in REDD+. All 3 are correct. Which one of the following was given classical language status recently? It is Odia. It was given last year, but other 3 did not get. Next question. With reference to an organization known as BirdLife International, which of the following statements is or are correct? So the first statement is, it is a global partnership of conservation organizations. This statement is correct. The concept of biodiversity hotspots originated from this organization is wrong. The identifies the sites known or referred to as important bird and biodiversity areas is correct. So only 1 and 3. These are factual questions based on the BirdLife International. Then, which of the following countries of Southwest Asia does not open out to the Mediterranean Sea? This was actually covered in the revising maps where I was actually talking see the countries which are bordering Mediterranean Sea, and you can see that you have Lebanon, Israel and Syria. Syria also has, it is only Jordan which do not has. Can you see Golan Heights also here? So for the Golan Heights, it is actually present in this region. In India, in which one of the following types of forest is teak a dominant tree species? It is tropical moist deciduous forest. Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. In social issues class, we have actually covered when we are talking about women and women's organization. An agenda for women's empowerment and outcome of World Conference convened by the United Nations. This was almost in 1995. Each day is more or less the same. This statement you see, each day is more or less the same. The morning is clear and bright with the sea breeze. As the sun climbs high in the sky, heat mounts up, dark clouds form, then rain comes with thunder and lightning. But rain is soon over. This is everyday thing. Every day you see this in equator. This is from Gocheng Liang, and this is actually known as the rainfall, which actually falls is known as 4 o'clock rainfall every day in the equator. So this is actually from that. Next, let us see. With reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. The rate of growth of real GDP has steadily increased in the last decade is wrong, because when you actually cut or consider the inflation one, it has not increased. There is variation. The GDP at market prices has steadily increased in the last decade is correct. Okay. Then the Legislative Council of a state in India can be larger in size than half of the Legislative Assembly. It cannot be larger than 1/3, and it should not be less than 40. The Governor of State nominates the chairman of the Legislative Council is wrong. So neither 1 nor 2. Directly from Lakshmikant, polity, this should be fine. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India, people may get confused with preamble, but it is fundamental duties directly. Which one of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? A community of organisms interacting with one another, but together with the environment in which they live. This is more important. The fundamental object of Panchayati Raj system is to ensure which among the following? You see this? People's participation in development. That is the main core objective of having panchayat at that level. Then you see political accountability. Of whose? Panchayats does not get political accountability of MLAs or MPs, but even if you talk about the panchayats, it is not to that extent. Democratic decentralization is correct. Financial mobilization is wrong. It's only 1 and 3. With reference to Indian economy, consider the following: bank rate, open market operations, public debt and public revenue. Which of the following is the components of monetary policy? Very basic question in economy. It is bank rate and open market operation. Public debt and public revenue is not monetary policy of the bank. So it's 1 and 2 only. With reference to inflation in India, which of the following statements is correct? Lot of news is happening. Elections are also won in the name of inflation. So this is important. Controlling the inflation in India is the responsibility of government of India only is wrong. The RBI of India has no role is wrong. Decreased money circulation helps in controlling the inflation. Less money in the hands of the people, less demand, so less inflation. Increased money circulation helps in controlling is wrong. So the answer is C. Consider the following countries: China, France, India, Israel, Pakistan. Which among the above are nuclear weapon states? Almost all these are nuclear weapon states as recognized by the Treaty on Non-Proliferation. So recognized by this is only first 2. These 3 are not. So it is these. If you see, only P5 countries are recognized. The concept of welfare state is from Directive Principles of State Policy. The substitution of steel for wooden plows in agricultural production is an example of labor augmenting. There is difference. People are actually arguing whether it is capital augmenting or labor augmenting. It is labor augmenting. The reason is, whenever you have wooden plows and you are substituting it with steel. See, if you use wooden plows, it doesn't mean that you don't plow the field properly. There, work of labor is much more. When you substitute it with steel, labor actually puts minimum effort there. That is, he puts effort, he is required, his effort is required, but not to the extent which you see in the wooden blows. So that is the major difference. So it is more related to labor augmenting technological progress. There is a parliamentary system of government in India because, see, parliamentary system. Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people. Even in US and all, if you take the Senate, upper house or lower house, it is directly elected by the people. Parliament can amend the constitution everywhere. It is the parliament which has to. Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. That is not the criteria to call it to be parliamentary system. But Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. So this is your answer, because as you take presidential form, the Council of Ministers is separate from the Lok Sabha. When they are derived from the Lok Sabha, then you call it to be parliamentary system. So the option is D. H1N1 virus is sometimes mentioned in the news, again current affairs, with reference to which one of the following? Swine flu. It's a direct question. With reference to bio-toilets used by the Indian Railways, consider the following statements. The decomposition of human waste in the bio-toilets is initiated by fungal inoculum. It is bacteria. If you use fungus, it actually spreads more. Ammonia and water vapor are the only end products in the decomposition which are released in the atmosphere, but it is actually water and biogas. So it is neither one nor two. The problem of international liquidity is related to non-availability of. International liquidity means the money which you usually use to pay for export or trade of goods and services. So you do trade usually in gold and silver or dollars and other hard currencies. You have both the options. People may think gold and silver is also used, but in international trade you don't see silver, so this particular option is wrong. Else, if you had only gold, it is correct. Dollars and other hard currencies, yes. If you see, international liquidity is suffering or is going to suffer mainly because there is lack of dollars and other hard currencies which you usually use for exchange. Fine. With reference to fuel cells in which hydrogen-rich fuel and oxygen are used to generate electricity, consider the following. If pure hydrogen is used as a fuel, the fuel cell emits heat and water as byproducts, is correct. Fuel cells can be used for powering buildings and not small devices, is wrong. Fuel cells produce electricity in alternating current, it is actually DC. So it is only one. Kalamkari painting, hand painted cotton textile in South India. Usually every time you have this one certain painting, either from south, north, northwest, anything can be taken and they form a question. So please be prepared even if you are seeing for next year. Which one of the following best describes the main objective of seed village concept? It is direct question involving the farmers for training in quality seed production and thereby to make available quality seeds to others at appropriate time and affordable cost. There has been a persistent deficit budget year after year. Budget deficit is happening. Which of the following actions can be taken by the government to reduce the deficit? Reducing revenue expenditure. Remember, budget deficit, expenditure has to be reduced. How do you control the deficit? What is the deficit? You usually talk about tax or earnings, revenue minus expenditure. So if you control expenditure, then only you actually reduce deficit. So deficit when expenditure is more and tax is less. So that is the time, right? Revenue is less. Introducing new welfare schemes. If you introduce new welfare schemes, you're actually spending more. Expenditure is more. So this cannot be. Rationalizing subsidies, giving subsidies only to those where it is required. For example, go for direct benefit transfer rather than having loophole. When you go for direct benefit transfer, what usually happens? You save money. So when you save money, deficit reduces. Expanding industries, if you expand more and more industries, what is going to happen? You're spending more initially. So this is wrong. So it is 1 and 3 only. Which of the following has or have been accorded geographical indication? So it is actually to Banaras and Tirupati Laddu, which is actually present in your India yearbook. So this is 1 and 3 only. With reference to the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, which of the following is correct? It is a public limited government company is correct. It is a non-banking financial company is correct. So the option is both 1 and 2. So friends, you have seen all the questions. I hope you people have done well. Much of it were covered in the classes, and even the YouTube classes were helpful. But I would say this is the time for you to see one source. There are a lot of questions where you have confusion in the option. Wherever you have confusion, it is only UPSC source will say whether that answer is correct or not. Every institute will give its own analysis. So friends, don't waste your time in seeing many other sources. Just start your preparation. You never know what will be the cutoff. People in the beginning, yesterday, they were telling the paper was very easy, paper is very easy. But when they see now, they actually compare, and there are a lot of negatives coming because there is confusion. So don't get into that trap. Toppers always tend to utilize the time. You have only 3 months time for your mains. If you think you are confident, you have done well, something above 85, 80 to 85, start your preparation. Any category, fine. 80 to 85 you have done, start preparing, because you never know. UPSC needs more number of people. If you start questioning, even a person who has got 100, he will be thinking whether I will clear or not. So if you don't think like, you will clear, you will not do your preparation. 1.5 months you will waste, and only with 1.5 months you cannot prepare for mains. So blankly start preparing, because preparation will never go in vain. It will be useful at least for the next year. So please ensure, don't go behind what is the cutoff, what will be the cutoff, how should I prepare. All these is fine. So focus on mains, do your optionals and ethics and essay very well. These are the things which actually determine whether you are in the top rank or not. All the best. Thank you.